Hi there, Mike MacArthur here from the Oshkosh Public Library, ready for some more Librarian Learns. This is the series where I take a look at bits of local Oshkosh history that I was asked about while I was at the library, or that I just kind of wondered about as I lived my life. So today, it is you can't see it outside, but I'll cut to a picture, but it is a beautiful, gorgeous day. It's getting close to be summer, and so naturally, what am I thinking about? Boats. Did you know we used to make boats right here in Oshkosh, right across the train tracks on Broad Street? It was called the Dunphy Boat Corporation. The company existed for over 100 years, and for those last third of the years, they created their iconic Plywood Boats right here in Oshkosh. The Dunphy Boat Company was originally founded in 1854 by immigrant John Dunphy. He got his start making boats and freighting supplies for railroad tycoon James J. Hill. So when Hill finished the Midwest portion of his railroad, Dunphy was out of a job and started to look into building boats for other people. After the Civil War, he set up shop in Eau Claire, building recreational boats, and it was a tremendous success. John Dunphy died in 1891. His son Cassius continued to run the company until his death in 1907. In 1908, Danish immigrant James Larsen took over as the company's president, and as the company continued to grow in the 1930s, he was really looking to expand beyond Eau Claire. Might also have something to do with the fact of that the 1931 fire destroyed his operation and burned a lot of fully constructed boats. Maybe. Eventually, Larsen settled on Oshkosh to be the home of his new factory. So, in 1935, Larsen moved his operation to Oshkosh, taking over the J.L. Clark Manufacturing Company on High Street. Why Oshkosh? 3 reasons. 1, cheaper freight rates out of Oshkosh. Gotta save those bucks. 2, we're on the water. Access to the Fox River and Lake Winnebago. If you're running a boat company, that's very convenient. And 3, Oshkosh was the home location of the Universal Motors Corporation, for which Dunphy contracted with a lot. The company's success continued and necessitated a larger factory by 1939, and that's when they moved into the former Schmidt Trunk Company building on Broad Street. At the onset of World War II, the Dunphy Boat Corporation, like many manufacturers, completely switched from recreational vehicles to military. Dunphy Boat Company spent the war building rearming boats for the Navy and tugs for the Army. The company received an award of merit from Outdoor Life, honoring recreation companies that now fully committed to the war effort. After the war, the Dunphy Company took what it had learned during its wartime production and began applying it to the recreation field once again. In February of 1946, the Dunphy Company issued its first catalog since the beginning of World War II, and it was showing that it was going all in on molded plywood boats. The catalog noted these new molded plywood hulls had tremendous strength, weight-saving lightness, and a complete resistance to distortion when subjected to the extremes of temperature, humidity, or complete immersion. You can actually see the entire process in some of their catalogs, which again, you can come and look at the library in person if you like, or you can take a look through it right now. So these molded plywood hulls were actually 5 holes that were kind of baked together. And as you can see from this picture here, they're kind of overlapped in such a way to ensure a watertight seal. Here they start with a clipping machine that cuts the veneer in widths from 3 to 6 inches. Then they are treated, and then you can see as these 2 ladies here basically staple together these various layers of the hull. And the whole thing gets wrapped up and kind of all baked together. And it comes out, is sanded, and all the permanent jigs and whatnot are attached, and finally it's put together and painted. The first 4 molded plywood hulls were offered in a 12-foot rowboat, a 2 different 14-foot runabouts, and a 14-foot fishing boat. Again, I didn't know what a runabout was, as I am not a boat guy, but it would become Dunphy's biggest seller and kind of their bread and butter. The title refers to a variety of relatively smaller boats, generally under 20 feet, built for all-around use. So you can use them to fish, but they might not have any specific modifications for that activity. In 1947, ownership changed hands again. Charlton H. Foster was announced as the new owner of the firm. By the late 1940s, not much had changed from year to year, but it was the 1950s that really saw Dunphy's sales explode. They were really poised to take advantage of the booming middle class in the 40s and 50s, which all of a sudden had time and resources and money to spare. According to boatingindustry.com, in 1950, the boating industry reported that there were just less than 450,000 registered motorboats in use in the entire country. By 1959, the industry was selling as many as that every single year. In 1953, Dunphy expanded its offerings to 23 new models, focusing on more family-oriented activities, and you can see this in a lot of the promotion. Though the plywood molded boats are what Dunphy ultimately became known for, they did dabble in other materials. In 1955, they released a line of boats molded from aircraft aluminum under their Speedway division. They also sold, again, a number of ancillary boating products, and in 1957 also started building their own trailers. They also adapted to meet, the new demands of the times, developing the ski rider to capitalize on the growth and interest in water skiing. But unfortunately, wooden boats began to fall out of favor in the early 1960s. Boats made out of fiberglass and aluminum would come to dominate the market in the 1960s. This was due to their low maintenance, their durability, their lightweightness, and their ease of customization. In 1963, Dunphy went out of business, selling the operation to Smith Marine of Illinois, which produced mostly fiberglass boats. Today, these wooden boats are kind of a niche collector's item. You can go out on the internet and find restored models out there for $3,000 to $7,000. The Land O'Lakes Classic Boat Club noted them as being an evolutionary link between the carved, planked, and cedar strip built boats of pre- and post-World War II era and the fiberglass classics of the early 1960s. So here I am standing on Broad Street, just below East Parkway. Behind me is the Boys and Girls Club and the former site of the Dunphy Boat Company, where from 1939 to 1962 they built their famous molded plywood boats. After the company was sold in 1963, the factory remained mostly vacant for the next 20 years, a few businesses bouncing in and out. The building and the land was purchased by the Boys and Girls Club in 1992 and erected their new location here that opened in 1993. And as you can see, it actually has expanded since then and takes up most of this block at this time. It's nice to see that also, just down the street was good old Bob's Trail Inn, which I'm sure plenty a Dunphy employee, dropped by after work. So hey, I learned something. If you like these videos and want to see more, hit like, hit subscribe, comment, share, and with that, I'll see you later.